Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play You Are So Beautiful. Now, I got a chance to play through this entire arrangement, and I've got to say two things about it. First off, it is a lot of fun to play, but secondly, I think it's going to be best suited for the upper intermediate player, because this is an arrangement that you can take and make your own. So what do I mean by that? Well, for this tune, I would recommend performing it with rubato. Now, if you don't know what rubato is, you want to jump into this lesson. I'll also link it in the description box below. But in a nutshell, rubato is a concept that you can use to add emotion to your performances. So at this point, let's take a step back and let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, Matt's going to be teaching you how to play the entire tune, but if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com, do a search for the song's name, and don't forget too, on that page is the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play this. Don't forget to grab the high G ukulele, and I'll catch you at the end of the video.
Hello! In today's video, we're going to be working on a solo high G ukulele arrangement of You Are So Beautiful. Let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to bring the camera down. We're going to start, and we're going to be using what's called four-finger picking. That's your thumb on the G string, index on the C, middle here on the E, and ring finger here on the A string. I like to use this so that each string can have its own assignment of a finger, making it a lot easier to articulate individual strings. Let's go ahead and start here with the beginning. We're going to play this little F chord by just taking our index finger, placing it here on the first fret of the E string. We're going to pluck our C and E together. Then we're going to pluck the E and A. And then the E and the A open by taking the index off. And we're going to play this little F7 by putting that index back on the first fret of the E string and adding this ring finger here to the third fret of the C string. Pluck those three strings together. In time, that first measure sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the second measure now, we're going to just leave our index finger here on the first fret of the E string, take our ring finger off while adding our middle finger here on the second fret of the C string. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A together. Then we're going to immediately pluck the G string, and then the E string, and then the C string again, E string. And then we're going to switch chords by flip-flopping these fingers. The index finger is going to come up to the first fret of the C string, and we're going to pivot the hand with the middle finger coming down to the first fret of the E string. So we have 0, 1, 1, 0. We're going to pluck just the interior strings, just our C and E together. And then we're going to give it a little down strum. Now, this down strum, you can use your index finger like a normal down. Just keep it really soft. I actually like to use my middle finger. So I kind of pluck those two strings, and then my middle finger comes down for just this nice little texture feel. And then to close the measure, it's a little bit tricky. What I actually like to do here is take my ring finger, place it on the second fret of the C string, play that, and as I do that, I take my index and middle fingers off, and I do a little pull off. And what's funny about this is when you do a really good pull off, you actually physically pluck the string. We don't need a good pull off here. It's actually okay to just kind of have the note on and then just use the surface tension of the finger pad on the string to create that nice little sound. We don't need a really good pull off, which makes it really approachable for beginners because you just play that note, take the finger off. That second measure though in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the two measures together, which really starts to sound like the song, sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Pretty cool. From here we go on now to the third measure of the song, and what's cool about that is it's very close to what we played in the first measure. We're going to start with that same little F chord that we played before, just the index finger here on the first fret of the E string. We're going to play the E and the A strings now though instead. And now we're going to play the open G, C, and E strings on that first fret still. Now we switch chords. All that we do is go the same D minor chord that we did before. The middle finger comes here on the second fret of the C string. We're going to pluck our C, E, and A together. Then the G, C, and E. So some similar chords to what we played before, just running eighth notes. It's a little filler section. Should sound something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going into the fourth measure, we're going to go to this wonderful F add 9 by taking our middle finger and sliding it up to the 5th fret on the C string, and then take your ring finger and add it underneath on the 5th fret of the E string. We're going to pluck those two together, play the open G, take the ring finger, move it up 1 fret so it's on fret 6, play the C and E together, play the open G, and then we're going to take this middle finger, slide it down to 4, and add our index finger here on the 3rd fret of the E string, plucking those two. But a little trick is when you add that index on the 3rd fret of the E string, you can actually add it as a little bar to the 3rd fret of the E and the A, creating this little C chord. And the reason that's helpful is when you play the 4 on the C and the 3 on the E, the next note is the 3 on the A, and you're already there. So that measure 4, sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the two measures 3 and 4 together should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we go on to the 5th measure. The 5th measure starts off the same as the first measure. That same little F, the same C and E, E and A with the open E. But then the very last chord, instead of going to this F7 that we played before, we go to a little bit different of one. The way we're going to play this F7 is actually with our middle finger here on that 3rd fret of the C string. So our ring finger can go here on the 3rd fret of the A. So we have 3 on the C, 1 on the E, and 3 on the A. We're going to pluck those 3 together. And that measure 5 sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then as we go on to measure 6, good news, measure 6 is exactly the same as what we played on measure 2. No difference whatsoever. We play that same little D minor to the D minor major 11 and that little hit with a little pull off. It's exactly the same measure as what we played on 2. And in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the two measures, 5 and 6 together, sound something like this. Notice how they're basically just one note different than 1 and 2, right? 2 and 3 and 4 and. As we go now into measure 7, we're going to do another little filler section, that same F chord we've been playing a whole bunch, just the index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string. I'm going to pluck my E and A together. I'm going to pluck the G, C, E, and then the A again. And then I'm going to go into the next measure by playing 0 on the A string and then 1 on the A. Now, I actually like to bar for this one. I know that seems crazy right now, but trust me, there's a reason for it. We'll see shortly. But measure 7 sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the reason I like to bar here is because when we go on to measure 8, we start with a C minor chord. To do this, we just bar the 3rd fret with our index finger on the C, E, and A. So you see how my index is right here on 1? I just slide it up 2 frets. And then that gives me that chord that I need. So it just makes the transition a little bit easier. I'm going to pluck those 3. G, C, E afterwards. Nice and simple. Then to play this F9 chord, I'm going to add my ring finger here on the 5th fret of the E string. Pluck the C, E, and A. And then the G, C, E. Pretty straightforward measure. Sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measures 7 and 8 should sound something like this together. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And this actually finishes the first verse pass. Before we go on to that next melody section, let's go and hear what this whole thing sounds like. The first 8 bars of the song should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... From here, we go on to the chorus. We're going to start with this nice B flat chord up the neck. Index finger here on the 5th fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 6th fret of the E string, and middle finger here on the 5th fret of the A string. I'm going to pluck my C and E together, and then I'm going to pluck the G, C, and then the A string 3 times. And then I'm going to play 4 on the A, and the way I like to do this is to actually take my index finger off, put it on the 4th fret, and then take the middle finger off there. And I play that note, and then I'm going to slide it up to 5. And then this will set up the next measure by having that index do 4 and 5. So I'll show you more of that in just a moment, but measure 9 in time should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And if you actually leave your ring finger on that 6th fret of the E string and you slide it up 1 when it goes to 5, going to 7 with the ring, then when you go on now to measure 10, you slide it up again. Index finger here is on 7, the ring finger's here on 9, which is where it needs to be, with the middle finger then crossing up and over, kind of turning your fingernails towards your shoulder to get that 0997. Kind of cool, right? You're going to pluck those 3 strings together in the 997. Then you're going to pluck the A string again. Then you're going to pluck G, C, E for the strings, and then the A string to end it. So measure 10 should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the 2 measures together to start the chorus, 9 and 10, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going on to the 11th measure here, I'm going to play this D minor chord by just barring across the 5th fret. Now we're not going to play the G string this whole measure, so we only need the C, E, and A strings covered with that bar across. And so I'm going to play the C and E together, and then I'm going to play the E string again. Then I'm going to play the A string with the pinky finger here on the 8th fret of the A twice. And then I'm going to play 7 with the ring finger, so I just add that finger, take the pinky off, and then put it back on to play that 8 one more time. So measure 11 sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now from here we go to one of my favorite chords. I love this chord. It's called the G add 9. We play 0 on the G, middle finger on the 11th fret of the C string. The index finger here is going to go to the 10th fret of the E string, and the ring finger goes to the 12th fret of the A string. We're going to pluck our C, E, and A together, and then we're going to pluck the G, C, and E for a little filler. So it goes. And then we go to this really, really spicy B flat minor 6 chord. Index finger goes to 8 on the A string, middle finger goes to 9 on the E string, and ring finger goes to 10 on the C string, leaving the G open. Pluck all 4 at the same time and let it ring. It's a really cool measure. Sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the 2 measures, 11 and 12, should sound something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And this actually takes us through the chorus, which is just that 4-bar phrase, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So before going on to the verse again, let's go ahead and hear what the chorus should sound like all the way through. Measures 9 through 12 should be something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and... And from this point, we go back into the verse, and we do this to repeat and kind of go through the song. So measure 13 starts off really similar to what we already know, because it's exactly the same as what we played on measure 1. That same little F chord with the C and E, E and A, take it off, the same F7 just like that. Pretty straightforward. In time sounds like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... And then we go on to this D minor at 11 that we've played before. That's all very familiar, going into the D minor major 11 right here. Now, what's fun about this is when we go there, normally we do like a little down strum with a pull off, right, for all this filler. Well, this time we just hit that and we let it breathe. We use what's called a fermata. We let it breathe indefinitely, as long as you want, before playing the open G to finish that measure. So it's mostly the same as what you've done. It's a little bit easier. It sounds like this in time: 2 and 3 and 4 and... And the two measures together, 13 and 14, should sound like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now we go on to the first ending. So this measure 15 starts the first ending before we repeat the whole tune. We're going to very basically play this F chord that we've been playing this whole tune, basically, right? The one that we kind of started with, the 0, 0, 1, 0. I'm going to play the open E and A strings, G, C, and E for filler. Then that little D minor that we've been playing a whole bunch, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, pluck the C and E. Then the G, C, E. In time, this measure sounds something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... Going on to measure 16. Measure 16 should look pretty familiar in that we're playing that same C chord, the 0, 4, 3, 3. Make sure you get that index to bar across. And we're going to play the 4th fret of the C and the 3rd fret of the E together. Then play the G, C, E, and the A there with the 3rd fret to end that measure. And in time, 16 sounds like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... And measures 15 and 16, which wrap up that first ending, should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... And this is actually where we repeat and we go back to the very beginning of the song. And we just play it through, all the way through. And now we go back into measure 13. But now, instead of going to the first ending again, we go on to the second ending to end the tune. And it's really not very difficult to play at all. We go back to that same F add 9 we've been playing, play the E and A together. And then we're just going to play G, C, E, A, E, C, E. And we slow down as we do it. So it goes E and A, G, C, E, A, E, C, E. And in time, with the slowdown though, sounds like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... Before the last measure, we slide our index up to 5 on the E, add the pinky on 8 of the A, and we go ahead and pluck all 4 strings. Or you could take your thumb and strum through to end it. So 18, pretty straightforward in time, is just 2 and 3 and 4 and... But the magic is 17 and 18 played together, which should sound something like this: 2 and 3 and 4 and... That little slide there can sound so nice. I'm not trying to play the slide, but just leaving the pressure there with the index as it slides up to 5. Just sounds so wonderful. And there you have it. There is You Are So Beautiful. Bringing the camera back up. This is a really fun tune to play, a really good opportunity to tap into some rubato, which means to play with feeling, right? Try to make this as musical as you can. It's a really good one for that. Don't worry about playing this with a metronome and getting perfect timing to a click. Worry more about getting perfect timing to how you're feeling this melody. It was a lot of fun to arrange with that in mind. Thanks again. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thanks so much.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a lot of fun. This is a very beautiful arrangement. Matt really did a wonderful job adapting it onto the ukulele. Now before we wrap up, I do want to give you a friendly reminder that if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for the song's name. Now also on that page was the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and we'll catch you in the next lesson. Take care.